Great. First of all, thanks, Kiran, for the warm welcome and inspiring to hear those words from all those mentors. We'll take about 20 minutes for this discussion and leave a good 10 to 12 minutes for all of you to ask questions. First of all, thanks to all the four of you for sparing the time and your busy schedules and squeezing this on a weekend. So I think the introductions have been done, so maybe I'll set the context. Right? I've been in this edtech field for more than 3 years now, and it's difficult because you actually build your curriculum, courses, etc. for a specific reason, to build a specific problem-solving mentality or a builder mentality. And we see the results in some, and maybe in some we don't. Right? At the end of it, we also interact a lot with the industry. We interact with tech managers, recruiters, and we keep asking them what they're looking for in candidates when they are recruiting them. And one thing that keeps coming up is they look for people with builder mentality. That is, people who've actually built something for the joy of doing it. And while building something, they've learned technologies, etc. Right? And some of you are mentors, some of you run companies, and we all know about Raj, right? I want each one of you to define in your own way on how you define builder mentality. Like, what are the traits that you look for in candidates that make you feel that, hey, this guy has got the builder mentality? Maybe I'll start with you, Vivek, first.
Hello. Thanks a lot for having me here, Krishna, and it's so wonderful to be here on this panel. Definitely, like, whenever I see all of this, product-minded thinking or like builder mentality, all of that just appeals to me in a way that whenever I see a developer or a person who is building a product, and if they're like moving like and pushing themselves far away, like, and pushing themselves like towards not just building the product, but actually like trying to be the part of the product after it has just launched, and try to iterate, try to like get feedback from the users. And then that mentality actually like just sets you apart from what the crowd is doing, maybe, right? I've seen like people building a lot of things on the open source and like pushing out in the communities. And I see the passion in which, like, whenever I'm like talking to any of the students or as a mentor, when I'm seeing them, I just see that they are trying to like build their products, and then they're not just like stopping there. They're trying to just market this as well. They're trying to see what feedback the users are giving. They're trying to push forward and then iterate on that feedback, launch another version. So I think for me, like, whenever I like see a developer like that, that just appeals to me a lot. Like that this guy has the mentor, or this girl has the like builder mentality in general. So yeah, I mean,
Great insights, Vivek. Maybe here, Raj, I'll come to you. You have 1 million plus followers on your social media, and you run courses of your own, right? And you will be interacting with a lot of students. Maybe I'm not talking about your colleagues at Google, but the students who you teach, who follow you, etc. How do you define builder mentality for them?
The first thing is I interact with a lot of people, and a lot of people do build things. So what stands out for me is when people don't build for themselves. When I'm building a product, if I'm thinking that, okay, it runs for me, this idea is good for me, and then they start building it up. So that is something which is a negative sign for me. But I look for people when they start analyzing if their idea is a like market fit or not, because a lot of times you might end up building things which you feel it's perfect, but other people don't use it. So that's the first thing. If your idea or product, whatever you're trying to build, before building it up, just make sure you discuss with the correct set of audience. Like, that actually gives you a sense that if that product that you're trying to build is market fit or not, which is a thing that I think a lot of people at big organizations do. They do run a co-pilot or something like that to make sure before they launch it. The second thing is customer experience. So a lot of times you end up building things, and because you're building, you feel like it's easy to use. But making sure that the Figmas that you're making, whatever you're making, are you running it through people who are not aware of the product? People who are just into the domain, they're not aware of it. Because when they're seeing the things from the scratch, if they're able to navigate in the Figma, if they're able to go through that product, I think these kind of qualities, if you see in a developer, then it kind of gives you a sense that he's just not thinking about building a product. He's actually thinking on a longer vision. And the third thing is which is a very small thing, but developers don't focus on it, which is analytics. I feel a lot of people do build products and they ship out features, but there's something which they don't think about, which is sunsetting features. So a lot of times you have to sunset features because they're not being used, or maybe they're being used by 1% or 2% of the people. So analytics, so overall, you understand what I'm trying to say. Overall, it's just not about you being an engineer. It's about you being building a product, thinking about every aspect, right from your product being a market fit to making sure the customer is easily using your product without actually needing a lot of guidance. Right from there to once that it gets into the market, how will you be able to track that if that feature was successful, if that thing is being used, if people are facing issues over there? So an overall thinking should be there when you're trying to build up a product. Just waking up from the bed and starting to code, that doesn't make sense. That might be good for an engineer, but not as a builder.
Great. Maybe on that queue of product, maybe I'll move to Minkesh. So you've been on the teams initially at Disney Hotstar building the product. I mean, the second engineer on Disney Hotstar, and now incubating a lot of startups through Pidilite Ventures. How do you define this builder mentality, and what do you see in people?
Uh, so first of all, thank you for having me here. What I see is a curious mind, right? And I believe fundamentally is you don't really have to, hit it out of the park in the first ball. You have to have that, patience and curiosity to learn things, right? You see around the world, you see the problems, you see the use cases, and you try to figure out how do you solve that problem, right? Now, especially in terms of engineering or product building, there are a lot of small parts to it, right? It is a cumulative thing which multiple technologies you might have to learn, or on the things on the product side you have to learn, might have to learn on the business side. You don't really need to be an expert at everything, but you should have at least the courage to give it a shot, right? Start small. uh, Especially whenever I interview people or I meet people, I really look for this thing, right? How much have you attempted so far, right? Or how much have you tried it on your own, or when have you sought help if you are stuck at something, right? And and on top of it, do not give up, right? That attitude is a must have. Especially when you talk about any company, right? You generally don't find product market fit in the first shot, right? It's an iterative process, and you have to be at it, right? You have to, as Raj correctly mentioned, you have to continuously take feedbacks, right? The point of improvements, the customer problems, right? And then you keep on working on it. Don't give up. So these are the primary things I look for.
That's great, Minkesh. Maybe Tushar, coming to you. I mean, you come now with the QA background, and you're a mentor there. And for professionals getting into these SDET roles, QA roles, etc., how do you define builder mentality there?
Absolutely. First of all, thanks everyone for having me here. So, I totally agree and resonate with what my fellow panelists have said over here. But I would just want to take the same thing at one level further granular, right? How can we realize builder mentality at a further fine-grained level? So, I think all tech folks over here, all of you would resonate with one very favorite word which we have these days in our lives: auto scaling. We want everything to auto scale around us. All platforms have to auto scale. It's all auto scaling, right? Now, that is something which resonates a lot from a builder mindset point of view at a granular level. How do you take up new challenges? How do you scale up yourself, right? I probably at Cryo, I've done more than or close to 250 career counselings by now. And I've met a lot of people to whom I keep telling that while you come and choose Cryo as your partner in your upskilling journey, it's not that you do a Cryo curriculum and you secure a 10-year run from here. No, it's the start of your journey. It's the start of your upskilling program. I don't think, and all my friends would agree over here, that IT and especially tech doesn't run on learning a skill set and sailing for the next 20 years. I think we are all done past that era, right? So it is about constantly being ready to learn, pick up new things, and see how you can. You need not be a mastered everything. You need to understand how you can leverage, right? So leveraging, being ready to scale up, pick up a new challenge, learn about it, learn to an extent where you're able to add a value to the org you are working, to the space you're working, to yourself. That's about to build a mentality for me.
Great, Tushar. Vivek, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Tushar said, and a wonderful point he put here. Like, I think one of the beautiful things about like being a part of like of this developer community and having the ability to code is that code is permissionless, right? You don't need anyone's permission to start learning something. You don't need anyone's permission to like maybe switch from being a front end engineer to a back end engineer. Like that's just the innate curiosity you want to like bring in yourself, so that like you're doing for the love of it, right? You're trying to build and trying to figure out things in a way that like you're not going and asking your manager that, okay, shall I start learning this thing, shall I not? I mean, even if it's not part of your like job description, you are learning for yourself, right? You're trying to build the products yourself, and I think that's what would push you and become like help you gain that build a mindset in general. So
Code is permissionless. I'm going to steal that line forever. Okay. So Raj, going to the next question. So now that you guys have defined builder mentality, is it possible to teach builder mentality? Is it possible to take learners step by step and inculcate builder mentality? How do you do that with your audience?
I think it's definitely possible. No one is born with that skill set. Eventually, you learn. So it depends from person to person. So, like, it's for me, it's not possible to teach such a wide audience. But if I talk it through a granular level, like teaching to my colleagues or to my teammates who work with me in running my stuff. So it's important that you teach them as someone would teach you when you are starting off. A lot of times, because you are at such a level, you know a lot of things, you end up thinking that the person sitting in front of you should also be knowing it. But that's usually not the case. So whenever you're trying to explain a concept, explain anything, just be patient with that person. Because a lot of time, be it mentors, anyone, I've seen this in my office, in the world as well, where people think that, okay, I know this, so he should be knowing it. Why is he not grabbing it so fast? Sometimes you should be giving that bit extra time. So it's just about giving that extra time, making sure that you teach everything uh, right from the basics. Yeah, if the person is not interested, you can't do it. But if the person is genuinely interested, then he would come back with more and more questions. And that's when you realize that this guy has this, curiosity to understand what do you want to teach or what are the extra things you want to know. And then eventually you get with him through the journey. You can't teach these things in a single day, but it's very, very important to cut your ego off when you're teaching someone, because you have experience, but the person learning doesn't have it.
On that cue, Vivek, I'll come back to you. Now that you've been teaching, you've designed the curriculum and you've been teaching, how are you doing it at Cryo? How are you ensuring that the students develop that builder mentality?
Definitely, I loved my time like while I was building the curriculum and while I was teaching to people live. And like what Raj said, I think I saw that live happening during the classes. And it was like very initial curriculum, and we were also figuring out things, and the students were also figuring out. And definitely, I think some part of it is like you need to have empathy for the person who is like coming here and like spending their time and their energy and their like whatever mind like headspace to just come and learn this. I think it's just respectful to just be patient with them and like try to. So what I like tried to do during the classes, I remember is like I used to. I think people don't remember the exact maybe words, but like the analogies stay with them, right? So I used to bring a lot of analogies during the classes to like help them out. Okay, like this is something how you would explain it. Now see if in the real world it might work like this, right? So for example, if like I was talking of one day, I remember. Simple like there was something around linked lists, right? And I was just telling them, okay, like instead of like thinking of it as a linked list, just think about maybe you take a class to a movie theater and you want to know everyone's seat numbers, but you can't like remember all of them, so you tell the next person that the next person's seat number is this, right? So like this way, like they get all of these connected kind of thoughts, which helps them be in that curious and excited mindset. And when you see that energy in them, the next step I think to do is to like lead by example, right? So I think having a builder mentality is like somewhat teachable, and then the rest of it becomes specific knowledge, which probably you would be able to grasp if you like have great mentors with you, right? You can see and learn from there. You can follow the examples. Just definitely not stay very away from the community. Like try to be more and more part of the community. You'll find great folks who will be actually like willing to help you out in that sense. So
Great, Vivek. Minkesh, I'll come to you. That now that you're incubating a lot of startups, you're building some teams, right? And Minkesh, you've recruited some of our cryo students. All of them might not be completely ready, right? You are still mentoring them and ensuring that they develop the builder mentality. How are you doing it across multiple companies?
Yeah, so particularly for the use case where like these folks are quite new, right? They don't really uh, they have not experience in production ready code bases, and like how a business is helping by their contribution. So first of all, you have to give them the sense ki what they are doing is why they are doing it, right? Because when you have a sense and a purpose around anything you do it with more interest and more passion. So this is one of the things which I try to before giving and assigning any task to anyone in the company, I try to like make them aware ki, okay, this might, because of this your business might help in this particular way. Apart from it, like going a step back, right? In general, I believe uh, inspirations helps a lot, right? If you really like present them with the inspiration ki okay, there were people like you already and they knew nothing, like they also came from the background like you, around the globe, anyone, and they were also able to reach to a great height of success. Then why you cannot, right? So there is no way you cannot do it. So, and before that, I think there are two things that I think in the society itself, it applies to the society. First is awareness, right? uh, if there are people who need like help in learning or in understanding things, and then there are people who got the opportunity but they are not really interested in it. So both the points need to be tackled on their own space. So one who really wants to do it, who really have interest around it, even if he fails a lot of time, he will basically come up and keep on learning things, right? He won't really give up on things. And one who one who doesn't like really want to uh, or uh, the another point on the awareness I was saying ki there are people or there are students who have the innate skill set in them to learn anything new, and they can do great in the on the engineering side, but they don't really have the connect or like the mentors in the society. So both the things need to be tackled, and
Sure.
that will
Great.
definitely help.
Maybe I'll just shift gears, Tushar. We were talking about a lot of students, and we interact with thousands of students every month. Oft repeated question these days is that is AI going to steal our jobs? Right? With the onset of AI, will developers no longer be required, or will SDET people no longer be required? Can you show some light on, throw some light on that, specific to your industry, specific to the job role that you handle?
Absolutely. And I think I work in the retail space. Walmart is a retail company, and there's a lot of usage. And like I said, in my career counseling, I think every third learner comes to me with a buzzword saying, "Will AI take my job?" They come from a non-tech background. They're starting their journey. They're in the first week of their cryo journey, but they're still worried about will AI take their job. See, it's very, and my answer is yes and no both over here. It also depends on the kind of job you are doing, right? I'll give you an example. We have a lot of investment banks, IBs, we have a lot of back-end work which happens where there's a solid use case of AI, RPA, which is being utilized. Yes, in those cases, software bots, AI could take certain amount of jobs, right? But at any point of time, it's artificial intelligence, not beyond human intelligence, right? When you talk about the development community, talk about the testing community, you would need, we all use Alexa at our homes, we all use Siri, all AI products. Do you think they were in the market without being validated, without being tested? No, right? We had a bunch of testers. It was more important for me to, for people to understand that AI is a complementary skill. I would not say that you need not learn AI, stay far away from it. No, it's a complementary skill. You need to know how to leverage it. But that's where we are currently. I know I have a team of 40, 45 people. We leverage a lot of AI tools, but it is not to replace them. It is just to optimize how their work goes. I, I have a lot of people reporting into me, and I report into a lot of people. Considering my role, and I have optimized my own life by utilizing a lot of AI, saving me time on preparing these different reports for every different stakeholder across the board, right? So it's about leveraging AI. It's not about being scared with AI that will eat up your job. That should be the understanding at this point of time.
Maybe Raj, with you, I'm trying to get more specific. Let's say software developers in Google or in other companies, with the onset of AI, have their roles changed? The tasks that they do on a regular basis have changed? And has the hiring changed?
The tasks, yes. Previously, I still remember I joined Google pre-AI era. And at that time, if I had to ask something, I used to rush up to my mentor, ask him a lot of questions, how that this code works, and similar kind of questions. And that has changed. This year, I saw a lot of freshers joining in our team. They don't ask us anything. They just ask us where's the starting point, and then they figure it out by themselves because they're smart and they have AI on their side, because internally Google has a different AI which we use, which is trained on the Google's code base. So it's much more simpler. So that's one thing that I've seen. We don't talk that much, or we don't train that much to the freshers. They do it themselves. A lot of tasks they are able to pick it up. So I think the velocity has increased. If I had to see something, I think the velocity of shipping out features, the velocity of even testing. I think we are automating a lot of things at Google as well. We are building a lot of things. Previously, we used to do a lot of manual testing. Now, with the help of the AI, we are doing a lot of testing using AI. So, what AI will be doing or is doing as of now at Google, or the other things, other firms that I do look around, is the velocity of shipping of features will increase. The hiring, I think it's still pretty much similar. I don't see jobs being cut off at those levels where human intelligence, as he pointed out, is required. But yeah, something like, putting data into the Excel sheet, something like those things would be cut off, but I haven't seen it being done, at least where I work at.
Great insights. Vivek, coming to you, usage of AI by mentors, right? You've been taking classes now for, as you said, for 3 years. Have you started seeing adoption of more and more AI tools to make students learn better?
Yeah, for sure. I think, and like not just students. I think as a mentor also, I have like been leveraging like the power of the LLMs which have been launched to upskill myself as well, right? So definitely, I try to just share the same knowledge to the students. And to be honest, I've been like doing. I'm not sure, it might be very ridiculous, but I've been trying to like even do mock interviews with ChatGPT or whatever, right? So even if I have a job role, and then if I have that job description, you can just utilize, because like what like there's been trained on the data on the internet, right? Now with all the tools which are coming in, for example, recently now I think there was a news around like OpenAI launching AI search, right? And all that. So that basically just reduces your time. So like to actually figure out what would be the right thing, it is becoming more and more accurate day by day. So definitely, I just share that knowledge to everyone who I'm connected with, that probably you can use it for, like, one is definitely saving your time, and the second is definitely around like searching the correct things which you would want to, because you also need to know that those things exist in the market, like to even search for them, right? A lot of times people just miss out on a lot of information because they don't know like any peripheral area around that as well. So that is one. And like I think a lot of people also mentioned this point back that, oh, like as Tushar said, like will they gonna take our jobs or whatever, right? And I think technology has always been just an enabler for solving a real problem and to provide value. It has always been like that. I mean, even if you look at, and if anyone gets scared, I definitely tell them the story around any student, that even if you look at, just go way back and then you talk about like agriculture, right? During that time, people were used to do like plant their crops. Used to take weeks, and eventually in the industrial age, like machines came in, that process became much faster. That came from weeks to days, and now like what it did eventually is like improve your productivity, right? As a farmer. Now with AI, that's something which is coming to you as a developer, and it's gonna definitely help you increase your productivity to like actually do things which you possibly wouldn't have even like figured out and like found on your own. So yeah, I mean that's something which I try to share with the students as well.
Tushar, could you throw some light on how people getting into the testing domain, etc., how they are using leveraging AI at work currently? Maybe some specifics.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of use case when you want to use AI at a testing space, right? We do a lot of automation, and probably when I talk about testing, if you see the industry is more moving towards, there's a popular term called shift left, if I have the understanding, right? It's not purely about testing web applications, see how the application behaves, and then just sign it off. It's more about advancing how you can move towards rapid development, how you can start doing shift left. And that's where a lot of use case comes on AI. Like we have been using something called Test Genie. We have been using a lot to optimize our developer productivity, where we are using a lot of something called Codium to leverage their effort to not write unit test cases. Write your microservices and then we are done. You're good to go. That's where we're kind of leveraging it a lot. So like I said, it's all around how you can optimize thing, where you can put your skilled resources at a more skillful thing and help them optimize and add a better value, right? You want to start testing your system. Like, I really love the course which we have at Crio, which is the advanced test automation. I feel that is what closely resonates with the real world problem. That is what really resonates with the what real world problem.
The advanced modules, the advanced
module, yes. That's where we actually teach cloud testing, a lot of back-end testing, and that is what we are all at. I think most of us would be working at applications where our applications are on cloud. You do a lot of Kubernetes testing, you do a lot of scaling testing. How do you validate your pods are working fine? A lot of UI use case where you can actually focus on these things. You are not just ensuring that your key business functionalities are working fine, but you actually go and leverage whether your system is working fine, right? Working in retail, we have these peak holiday seasons, right? Flipkart has the October sale. Walmart has a Black Friday, and we have a Cyber Monday, and a lot of the whole Q4 is about a heavy. We put in our systems at all auto scaling, and we test the loads, and we use a lot of AI over there to kind of test and simulate the kind of loads which can help us serve our customers better and give a better experience to them. So that's where we are from a test automation leveraging AI.
Great. So Raj, I'll come to you for the last question and then open it up to Q&A. You talked a lot about how you're going to use AI on your platform in order to make learners enhance the learning outcomes, right? Can you talk about some of the use cases that you are personally working on?
Sure. So like my platform is basically around data structures and algorithms. So I think when I was building it, we were thinking of using AI, and then I kind of took the idea that we have in our day-to-day life when we code at our organization, which is one thing is code review. So which is not that a critical part when you learn, but eventually when you get in for interviews or all those portions, I think there is a section where people judge you for the quality of code that you write. If you're going to write like 150 lines in one function, you're going to get a negative mark for that. So I think that's one feature that we integrated. What we decided was, okay, let the person submit the correct code. That's a one. So basically, you end up submitting a correct code for a DSA problem. And after that, what we did was we ended up building our model in such a way that it was already trained on a lot of codes that I have written. When I write code, I usually try to write it in the best possible format when I'm teaching on YouTube. So all those codes, it was trained on it. So we have our model, and now what happens is when someone submits their code, so they get a button only when the code is accepted, because we don't want to handhold him in even fixing his wrong answers, because we wanted that to be done by the learner itself, right? So once he has submitted it and it gets accepted, A button as code review. So if you click it, what it does is it analyzes your entire code, and if you have written it like in 150 lines, it then tells you that maybe this portion, line number this to this, can be put into a function named this. Maybe the variable naming could have been done better. Maybe you can optimize this portion. So it gives you a detailed 6-7 pointers of review, which possibly a mentor or someone could do. So that's the initial level that we have done, or maybe eventually going across we could improve as we get more and more data set. The second one that we are kind of doing is we have a discussion forum where people kind of put their doubts, right? So one of the ways to get the most common doubts is when you pick up the most liked doubts, but then there are always a lot of doubts which are on the bottom, which don't get noticed. So again, we are leveraging AI over there. So because now we have launched our product and we're getting a lot of doubts on the discussion forum. So as of now, what we are trying to build is we pick up all the discussions for a particular problem, and then we are using AI to kind of summarize that. Okay, these are the 5 topmost doubts that a learner is facing for this, and these are the topmost answers for it. So what will happen is now the probability, like the person might be looking out for a mentor to ask something, but now that probability will decrease because the common top 5 doubts are visible to him with a descriptive answer. Yeah, obviously, again, beyond that, he'll require a mentor. He might require AI services. That's one thing. We're trying to build something as resume maker using AI. Again, as of now, what's happening is you put everything into the template, etc., etc. So over there, we're also trying to build a product in the next 1 month where we're kind of leveraging AI to have that thing easy for the learner. The learner can maybe give his Google Doc resume, or maybe he can just insert his data into the placeholder, and on the basis of the hundreds of resumes we will be having, which have got into Google, Microsoft, Amazon, on the basis of that, we're kind of trying to give him a template based resume which is more similar to the ones that has initially gone through that phase. So these are some features that we're working on, and there are certain other ideas which I'm not sure of. We're just trying to do a testing on our end, and once that is sure, maybe we can ship it across.
Great. Maybe I'll pause there and open it up to the floor for questions, and then I'll summarize.
Hey, hi everyone. My question is to Raj. So Raj, when you were initially in your interview preparation days, right, you were very heavily focused on DSA, right, and competitive programming. And then when you get into the industry, you notice there's so much more apart from DSA that we need to learn in order to actually build something. So I feel like there's a bit of mindset shift that is also required for that. So how was that journey for you, and how did you how did you go that journey from DSA Pro to an actual proper software engineer?
Yeah, so when I was in college, I come from a very small college where we don't have that many inspirations to follow. So I just heard about that. Okay, we need to do competitive programming to get into these big companies because they have these online assessments and DSA interviews. So that's when I started doing CP, just because I wanted to get into these companies. That was the entire motive. And the moment I got into one of the companies, and after that, when I joined Amazon as a 6 months intern, first 15 days I was like, kahan gaya? It was that tough. I couldn't understand anything. They gave me a code base and they asked me to write in backend API. I'm like, where does the code base start from? Because in competitive programming, what we used to do is write an int main and maybe a couple of other functions. And here you're getting a huge code base. You just know the entry point and the threads, etc. And I didn't understand anything for the 15 days. I was like blackout. And eventually I figured out that okay, I need to leave competitive programming because till that point also I was doing CP a lot. So that's when I told myself that okay, this needs to stop here because I've reached where I wanted to and I was not improving at CPA any further. So I started shifting over here. I used to give more hours compared to other people because I haven't done dev. Even I remember when I joined Amazon, I didn't know what GitHub was. Like they're saying commit kar do. I'm like, commit kya karna hai? So I was that bad when I joined Amazon as an intern because all they took was 2 DS rounds. And I just sailed through it because I was good at CP. So eventually it took me time. Initially it took me a lot more time. For that reason, my internship experience at Amazon wasn't that great. But then I joined media.net, and after that when I joined Google, I remember getting promoted at Google at like 16 or 17 months. That's when I got promoted. So that's it. Like you have to change your vision. Like you have to change where you're focusing on. Because I was focused on CP, I was good at it. I shifted my focus. I gave time to dev. I used to give extra hours. So eventually, if you're hitting that stuff regularly, you'll eventually learn. So there's nothing like having the different mindset. It's just about giving time. So maybe I see a lot of people, they log out at 6 because they feel like 6 means 6. But you need to recognize this, that see, if you are not able to do things inside your working hours, you need to put that extra hours. It's not for the company, it's for your career as well. Because see, it's gonna help the company for sure. But if you look at your career ladder, if you don't give that time, what will happen is instead of getting promoted in 2 years, you'll get promoted in 4 years. Whose loss is that? You're losing out of 2 years of salary of maybe the next level. You don't realize it now, but eventually you'll realize it, but that will be too late. Right? So yeah, that's it.
So after that Narayan Murthy like motivation, right? So basically, so, we're talking about the role of AI overall in the evolution of software development as well as testing, right? But there's also additional frameworks, additional tech stacks that get popular over time, right? At Crio, we try to keep updated. For example, FDT, we are trying to get into Next.js, TypeScript, and Redux, right? So what are the new tech stacks you folks are seeing both in testing for Tushar as well as in development for the others? What are the new ones that are up and coming?
Sure, I'll take it first from a testing point of view. So from a testing point of view, like I said, it's very important to understand that just testing UI is not going to get you sailing for the next couple of years. You need to start looking, and you need to, like we all have full stack developer roles across the industry, you need to start looking at a full stack QA. And when I say full stack QA, you need to consider that application your baby, and you need to know how you need to make sure that performs really well, right? So you need to test the front end, test the back end, test the APIs, and understand the non-functional testing aspect of it, which is very important, which runs your big billion days, which is to understand the performance, scalability, and that is where there has to be a heavy focus. So it is a lot about understanding these. And I also fundamentally believe, so I started my automation journey probably back in 2012 and have been there since then. So one thing which I don't believe a lot is in tools. Try to focus and learn the underlying technology. I have seen a bunch of tools come and go, and I'm sure a bunch of them will come and go in the coming times as well, right? See, I teach the QA platform, the premium curriculum, and I tell it to a lot of people. If you know how to identify a web element, वो change नहीं हो रहा भाई. If you know how to do it, doesn't matter which tool you are choosing. You're doing it to Selenium, Playwright, this, that, Protractor, APM. That's it. That's about it, right? You do it on a web, you do it on a mobile application, you do it on a tab. You need to the fundamental underlying principle is still the same. So understand the tech behind it. Testing still caters to a wide set of tools and technologies. Keep your programming languages really strong, and beyond that, the integration technologies which are there around, have a good hold on it. That is what is going to sail you across. Stay a little bit at a distance from just the tools.
Yeah, so maybe I'll add on to your question. So as you correctly pointed out, right, like there are framework that keeps on coming. So now the thing is, there are some standards set in the industry, and those standards need to be followed across, like for example, authentication, right? So if you, every time if you were to create any service, would you, like write the authentication mechanism from the scratch? It's not required. So in that case, like systems like Strapi, like Strapi is one framework which we generally use. So, and there are also a lot of open source frameworks or packages which gives you a lot of things out of the box, right? Like entire best practices of microservices will be ingrained in that, and you just have to start consuming it. So again, like that will increase the velocity of the things. And other than that, like in the today's world of AI, to keep up with it, I think like libraries like Streamlit, right, and TensorFlow, PyTorch, all these things are like much more heavily used, like especially if you are thinking of leveraging any sort of AI capabilities in your workflows. So yeah, I think there are these are the few things which I can add on, like which are really coming up in the industry.
Hey guys, my question is essentially like more tending towards AI only. So nowadays, a lot of GPT-enabled developers and testers are out there, right? So basically, people who are enabled by GPT to actually do their whatever they do. So GPT is popularly known to have been trained on the majority of the code on the internet, which is also working but mediocre code. So potentially the question for you guys is, are we looking at a near future full of developers and testers writing code that works but is mediocre? And does that play into hiring or something like related to that?
Yeah. Hi, young man. What's your name? Didn't get your name, buddy.
Atri. My name is Atri.
Atri. Hi. One thing which definitely you pointed out that is trained across the internet, and a lot of people say like, okay, it's mediocre code or whatever, right? I just wanted to understand one, like, is what exactly would be considered as mediocre code? That is my first question back. Would love to know the answer from anyone who is here in the audience today. The other thing is eventually whatever I think what GPT is essentially doing is change. I mean, it's just challenging the definition of a developer in general, right? Or maybe what an engineer does, right? If you just define a traditional definition, okay, like a software engineer should be able to like frame like code in XYZ language, it should be able to like do XYZ things. All of this, like, this is a like standard set definition of a software developer. Now what GPT is trying to do is like challenging that, like saying, okay, if you're a PM, okay, if you just know how to solve a problem, I'll enable you to do that, right? I'll enable you to like bring code, whatever is working, and like help you at least validate all those ideas. Definitely the need of engineers is there to think past that like initial ideation phase or whatever to move forward. I mean, even I use a lot of like GPT code, and our company also uses a lot for it to actually what Raj said, right? To just do a lot of code reviews beforehand we even submit PRs, right? So all of that just helps us ease our time. Eventually, it's just gonna maybe just catch a few test cases which we might be missing, right? Just gonna help us solve that. So that's what I think. If you're talking about GPT-enabled developers, I think those are going to be the most powerful people because they're riding the wave which is coming in, and it's definitely going to bring up. So yeah, I mean, if anyone's still up for answering the question of what is mediocre code, I'd be happy to chat after this discussion.
Great. So I think Rachel has indicated that we are short on time, but I think we can interact with others during dinner. First of all, Vivek, Tushar, Minkesh and Raj, thanks a lot for your time. And in your life, most of your passionate mentors, whether teaching students or teaching colleagues, etc. And it's the most noble way of giving back to society. Right? Thanks a lot for all your efforts. And please, guys, you can network with them during dinner. Thank you.